This is Harmony, this is Des, this is Eric, and this is Cynthia. We had 10th grade, and these are all my juniors. So yeah, I told them that because I'm
Oh yeah, you don't need, yeah.
No, I come up and do your thing. No, right. I just love you. Oh my gosh. Awesome, man. Everything's good. I'm here. I'm here right now. Oh my God, that's BanMenthol today, now, not asking, telling, killing black folks. Do the right thing. What do you want your legacy to be?
Yeah, BanMenthol. Yeah, BanMenthol, man. You know, it's killing black and brown communities. You know, we got a BanMenthol, man. We here at the, Supreme Court. Shout out to Ms. Abbie's kids. We got the voices here. We came out in the numbers. Shout out to MOKNOWLEDGE. A1A Productions. We here.
Yeah, we in the building. The same stuff our parents and grandparents was hooked on back in the Diz age.
So as we mentioned earlier, we are not simply a mishmash of talking heads coming in telling folks how to live their lives, what they should be doing, what they should not be doing. This is the community telling their legislators, telling their lawmakers, we do not want this. We do not need this. So you're going to hear from your community today. So first up, we have Shanequa Charles. She's the executive director and founder of Miss Abbie's Kids. Shanequa, please come on.
We're here today not asking permission. Let's put that mystery to bed. We are not here today begging and pleading, say, can you please do this for us? What we are here today saying is that we have uncovered the science that proves that the tobacco industry intentionally created a weapon against black folks. Yes. Created something that they knew would take our lives disproportionate to everyone else. Now let's break down some of that science. Are you with me on this? When you combine nicotine and menthol in a cigarette, it lasts nearly 80 times longer in a melanated cell. For those of us who may not be familiar with what a melanated cell is, let's break that down a little further. A melanated cell is what gives us our color. A melanated cell is what physiologically determines us to be black and brown people. So if you have agency that says, let's create a product that is specifically targeted to brothers who are black and brown because it will cause cancer, because it will cause emphysema, because it will give you lung disease, because quite literally your skin will peel off your body before you die, like my mother's did at the age of 57 in my arms. That means that we have a target on our backs, yes. That means, and it sounds a little bit like domestic terrorism if you ask me. And so while we are here saying big tobacco, we have figured out what y'all did, that we are also coming to tell you that we're not going to take it anymore. I've never went to the store and looked for a cotton candy flavored anything. I'm not going to the stores looking for strawberry flavored anything. You're targeting our children and we're on to you. See, you may have gotten my mother. You may have gotten my friends' mothers. But who you cannot have is our children. Who you cannot have is our babies. Who we refuse to let you get your hands on to cause death and destruction, pain, horror, and terrorism is our children. And so we have come together to this day, on this day, and many other days with groups that have been on the ground for years, with elected officials who understand the importance of standing behind something so important. And we're saying that we are building this table whether you pull up your chair or not. We're not asking for a seat at your table when we know that your sole purpose is to destruct and destroy black and brown people. Yes, yes? Yes, yes. Yes, yes? Yes, yes. I'm the oldest living woman in my family and I'm only 43 years old. Let's sit with that for a second. And what the implications of that mean for my daughter who is 13, who doesn't have a grandmother because Big Tobacco won they fight on her. Because Big Tobacco won their fight with my grandmother. Because Big Tobacco won their fight with my aunt. We deserve somebody to teach us about how to grow food in the yard like my grandmother told me when I was a baby. We deserve to have those elders in our families who teach us the things that keep us out of the street, like our history and who we are, and the fact that when we came over here, we didn't come over here as slaves. We came over here as lawyers. We came over here as doctors. We came over here as healers, and we were turned into and targeted in this very country. So again, we're not saying, please do this. I don't know. Oh, I don't know. What? Yeah. We didn't come here to say, please do this. We came here to say that you need to do it now, because it's about to get hot if you don't. Yes, yes? Yes, yes. It's about to get hot if you keep coming after our babies. Yes, yes? Yes. You ever been in the jungle when the lioness gives birth to her children? Can you run up on them? No. Can you run up on them? No. What'll happen to you if you do? Shout it out. What'll happen to you if you do? You get tore up. And so, what we're saying here again is that we need for the legislation to be passed in the city council. How do you reckon with yourself the fact that you know something was intentionally created to kill black folks and you still stand on the other side? How do you know that something was created to annihilate an entire people of color and not do the right thing? That ain't right. My question for anybody who has the ability and the authority to make these decisions, what would you want your legacy to be when your story is being told to your grandchildren? All I want is for my daughter to make it to be a grandmother's age, because at the age of 57, you have not lived enough life to pass on your legacy. At the age of 57, you still have more years left that you can rear up these young babies and make sure they're not picking up guns. Rear up these young babies so that when you're in a neighborhood and communities like the Bronx, who are operating at number 62 out of 62 counties in all of New York State in a food desert without even enough fresh vegetables and fruits to keep your body strong, so that when things like COVID hit, that you actually have an immune system to combat those things. We are continually being targeted, and it's not just the menthol cigarette. It is in our food, it is our lackluster education system, it is the fact that our black and brown bodies fill the carceral state in a new age slavery. We have a host of issues that we have to acknowledge. And when they said, let's go ahead and make a super cigarette, as our brother Kirsten Ford says, the AK-47 of cigarettes, what he meant was, you knew that you were taking our minds, because the menthol cigarette is more addictive than any other cigarette. For those who have never smoked a menthol cigarette, let's break that down for a second. You ever chewed a piece of gum that was spearminty, minty with the menthol in it and drank some water? It's a cool feeling. So when you inhale that cigarette, it cools the lungs and it allows you to keep the toxins and the things that cause your death and destruction in your body longer, and it feels nice. They told us back in the 50s and 60s that you'd be cool if you smoked these cigarettes. Right. That it would be sexy if you smoke these cigarettes. And we have the science and data to prove that the marketing was intentionally targeted to black and brown communities and poor white communities. Now, why would you do that if you didn't have outcomes? That lynching bill went to the floor 200 times before we got an anti-lynching bill. And that was because it was for black folks. We have witnessed other groups get what they need immediately. So we know that it can be done, yes, yes. So we know that it can be done, yes, yes. And so simply put, again, here today, what we are saying simply is that we're not asking for permission. We're not asking for permission. We are saying end menthol cigarettes in the city and in the state, because we do have access to get these things done immediately. And also, I want to leave you with this question for your own self if you are on the other side of this issue? What do you want your legacy to be when your story is being told to your grandchildren? That you stood up and did the right thing for people who built an entire country, or that you were more concerned with the money in your pocket?
Let them know.
Peace to the family.
Talk that talk. Thank you so much, Shanequa. I just want to reinforce a few points that have been made already. So currently, there is a bill in the City Council, Intro 577, that will, when enacted, restrict the sale of menthol cigarettes in New York City. So the legislation, as it relates to enforcement will solely fall under the auspices of the Department of Consumer and Worker Protection. They currently issue fines to retailers who sell tobacco products that are currently banned, and once this goes into effect, they will continue to do so as it relates to menthol cigarettes. The police department does not enforce this matter. They don't currently enforce these rules, and they will not enforce these rules moving forward. So we expect our New York State lawmakers to do the right thing and also enforce a restriction on the state level, but we can't wait on New York State. We're also demanding that our city legislators act as well with Intro 577. So every day that we wait to pass this bill is another day that Black and brown New Yorkers are suffering, that their quality of lives are diminishing right before us, that our families are left to mourn their deaths or their eventual deaths, right? That our children are growing up without their family structures intact. And so we must end the sale of menthol cigarettes in New York City and New York State. We must prioritize the health of Black and brown communities, right? We need to do what's right, and we need to pass this legislation now. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Some of the lives that we lost from Miss Abbie kids. There's a picture of Miss Abbie, my mother, my father, and my best friend. Pictures of them that died from cancer. And I remember her and I started smoking when we was 10 years old. Get dizzy, don't sleep, and wake up. We didn't know any better. We grew up knowing that smoking was supposed to be cool. But we're going to protect our babies today. Because when you know better, you do better. And we know better through the scientists that we're going to stop this targeting of our children. We could save this, the last couple of generations, but we're going to save this one. And this is a really hard work. Too many people have died that won't even make it on this man. So we're going to stop this today. And I'm really hoping that they put this in the budget and ban menthol cigarette today. Thank you.
Yes, they are. Correct.
New York right here. There you go. Shanequa Charles, my sister artist up. You know what I'm saying? NATFICIALTHETRAVELER. Miracles, we are the true warriors.
Awesome. She grew up. Love it.
BanMenthol.
BanMenthol. Now, we're not asking, we're telling you. But don't ban alcohol. BanMenthol. Get yourself something to drink.
Straight out of a comic book.
Okay, well, take it on.
So what we have going on here today at the Supreme Court building is we have a carryout of some justice to make right some wrongs. Today, we stood in solidarity with the Bronx Borough President, who has said to us that she hears our cries. that has said to us that she's willing to stand by us, that has said to us that she is also willing to invite her colleagues in government into the conversation about why it's critically important to ensure that menthol be banned and that black life be protected and that black children are no longer the targets of the big tobacco industry. We need to ban tobacco. We need to ban menthol cigarettes. We need to keep this out of the hands of our children, and we also need to hold the tobacco company accountable. We need to hold them accountable for what they have done to lives of black and brown people in this country for the last 7 decades. Join us, BanMenthol movement, MissAbbiesKids.org. My name is Shanequa Charles. I am the executive director. Let's get it, let's go.
Nice.